I can see us. Perfect. All right. We are here. Welcome to the Tip to Tip / How I Met Your Mother podcast. So I got my good friend Linda here.
What up?
That's her. I think the audio and the mics is working. If not, this is going to be a big waste of fucking time. I'll be real upset. We listened to it before, so... Well, I listened to it, and I heard it, so it should be good. So we're going to start this podcast. I got a few things down here. You used to have notes, but you left them at home. So
I tried, man.
Thanks a lot.
I tried.
So, Linda and I, how did we meet, Linda?
Well, funny story, actually.
I better fucking
which
laugh.
we just told.
Oh, we did just tell the story.
We met by me trying to forcibly remove Grant from my vehicle because he was trying to crash my second date with my husband.
Well, I mean, you guys didn't invite me, and that was rude as fuck.
No, we didn't invite you.
Yeah.
Because it was a second date.
Weren't there other people involved, though?
Just Lex.
Yeah, why was she allowed to go and I wasn't?
Because she was the bestie. She's the wing woman.
I was Tim's bestie.
Yeah, but I didn't know that.
I was like his Ted Mosby.
Yeah, but I didn't know that.
Well, that's your fault for not being willing to experience the event at play. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure I was puking anyways. I was pretty intoxicated. Shortly after that, I believe I was vomiting outside the establishment. So then we became friends. We were kind of forced at first.
It was definitely a forced friendship.
Okay, well, yeah, for one of us, obviously it was you. For me, I was arms wide open. So we, I don't remember how I started watching How I Met Your Mother.
You know, I've been racking my brain about this all week long, and I don't remember how you started it, and I don't remember how you came to me and said, Linda, watch this show.
Yeah, I'm assuming it was on Netflix, would be my guess. And that's how I picked up on it.
It was on Hulu.
Hulu. So it was on something.
Yeah.
And I must have started streaming it and then said... I would assume that Lily and Marshall immediately reminded me of you and Tim, and that's why I said to watch it.
Yeah.
Would be my assumption, but I don't remember exactly the scenario. But Lily and Marshall remind me of Linda and Tim. Ted, well, we'll get into that. I got our questions here. So the show has meant a lot to us. That's my next question. What did the show mean to us? It's meant a lot to us. Pretty much everything in our lives has gone back to How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, it really has.
It has been a major... podcast, TV show in our lives. Corporal Major. What did it say? Major, was it?
Major punishment?
Major punishment. In our lives. So, we start watching it, and then as you do a show, you start comparing it to things in your life and people in your lives. And our group at the time was pretty core How I Met Your Mother, kind of.
Yeah.
We had different people fit different positions. We had a local bar that we went to all the time, which was like our McLaren's. Less Irish, more sports bar. But we would all meet there. We would assemble. We would get everybody there. Meet at scoreboards. Meet it. Just like they're like, we got to meet me at McLaren's. We didn't live above it, which is probably for the better.
Definitely for the better. Although there was a time where you lived within walking distance
of
our McLaren's, which
yeah.
was equal parts good and bad.
Yeah, definitely good and bad, definitely. So then the show, we started having other people watch it in our group of friends. I would be like, hey, you need to watch How I Met Your Mother. Linda, tell them. And you'd be like, yeah, we need to do that, and then vice versa. However, we never got Tim on board.
No,
watch it.
Tim was never on board. The real life Marshall
Yeah.
actually hated How I Met Your Mother.
Hated it when we talked about it. Hated it when we brought it up. Hated it when we compared it to situations. He just did not like it.
Hated it when I watched it at home.
Yeah, I think it was mostly just because we all liked it, so he didn't want to.
That's fair. That's very fair.
He didn't want to be involved with it. Obviously we said you're Lily from the show, without a doubt. Very much.
The real life Lily.
Yeah,
Aldrin.
definitely. You're very relatable to Lily.
But I'm not a kindergarten teacher.
No.
Nor do I have any desire to be one.
No, although has babysat a fair amount of adults, myself included. So I guess I would have to be a mix of Ted and Barney, for sure.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think as the years have gone by and we've aged, you have you were definitely much more of a Barney when we first started watching the show.
Yes, challenge accepted.
Probably 10 years ago at this point.
Yeah,
if, If not longer. So you were definitely living your Barney era when the show first came into our lives.
Yeah, I mean, like, I even in my own head had a playbook of, like,
I did not know that.
Well, yeah, like, there were scenarios, and I called it a bucket list. Well, I called it a fuck it list of scenarios I wanted to be in and accomplish with women. And then I would tell the stories when we were at the bar. So that's kind of Barney-like. I mean, I didn't have, like, a full... He has, like, Bible. That's a little excessive, a little rapey, if you ask me, but... For me, okay, so my next question here is the most relatable episode. What episode do you relate the most to? Do you remember?
So I've got like 4.
Okay, let's start with the first one.
I think the one that I relate to probably the most in like an overarching way would be, I can't remember the name of the episode, but it's right before Lily and Marshall's wedding, and Lily decides that they're going to spend the 2 weeks prior to their wedding apart from each other. And Ted is wrapped up in trying to write his best man speech, and Marshall sneaks away to the hotel that Lily is staying at to binge eat so that Lily can fit into her wedding dress. And the premise to that storyline is Ted coming back to it at the wedding and saying, even after 10 years, Lily and Marshall couldn't even spend one night away from each other, and may they never have to again. Which I definitely related to in my relationship with Tim and subsequently our marriage, because I think we only spent a handful of nights apart from each other in 10 years, and it wasn't because we wanted to. I mean, we certainly didn't want to. But
I think it even, like, there was never a time I knew Tim was coming without you being far behind.
Yep.
Or vice versa.
Yep.
It was always Tim and Linda.
Yes.
It was never, oh, just Tim's coming.
We're very much a package.
Yeah, it would have been weird to have one of you and not the other at that point in time.
Yeah.
It would have been very strange.
I would agree.
All right, what are your other 3? Only 3 more. Nobody panic.
The second one, I would say, I believe it was season 2, maybe season 3, about the Fiero crashing on the crew, Marshall's beloved Fiero, and they're all sitting in the auto body shop swapping stories about the moments that they had in the Fiero with subsequent cast members, what the car meant to them, and what the car meant to all of their relationships that they had with each other.
Yeah, I think we've all been there with a car, because, I mean, especially when you're younger, there's always, like, the one person who drives, and then subsequently everybody's got stories through that car.
Exactly.
Because they are, that's where everybody hung out. Like, you picked everybody up, you rode around with everybody.
And in our group of friends, it was usually me who was the driver and
yes.
picked everybody up and got to be, like, the fly on the wall to all of those stories.
Yeah, you were there for, like, all the events of what was happening in the car.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. I like that. All right, 2 more.
So this one's a little bit sadder.
All right,
but
let's cry.
in the we're not gonna cry. Not yet, at least. It's too early to cry.
2. We got 5 more minutes.
In the more recent years, I would say one of the more relatable episodes that I have are Last Words, when Marshall loses his father.
Oof.
Which...
God, that was such a... I remember watching that, and I think I was as shocked as Marshall was when he got the phone call.
Yeah.
Or when Lily told him, I should say.
Oh, agreed.
Yeah, I I didn't expect that to be the thing that was told.
Yeah.
I
Especially because in that episode, they're, like, celebrating the fact that they're going to be able to have a baby.
Yeah, it was very, they took you real high to knock you down real quick.
Yes, very much so.
I think, I mean, obviously I know why that's relatable. But go ahead.
Yeah, so Last Words is super relatable for me, just because of the from trauma that I've experienced in the last 2 years, losing Tim and having to navigate through a life where Tim is not physically present, and I think you get a lot of that from Marshall in not only the Last Words episode, but the episode that follows that.
Yes. Almost really moving forward as a whole, I think.
I would agree.
It altered the whole Marshall character.
Yes.
I would say.
But I think it altered Marshall in a way that it needed to happen.
Yes.
Not only for the show, but for his character.
And I think having the child, prior to that, they were fighting about things that Marshall's parents did.
Yeah.
So I think to Lily and him...
Another fact I can relate to.
I think the fact that Lily and they lost him, even Lily saw everything from a loving place then, instead of a place of frustration.
Yeah.
And I think that was pretty huge into them raising their kids.
Yeah, I would agree.
And that's pretty much why we're doing this podcast. One, we love How I Met Your Mother.
If that's not obvious.
Yeah, if that's not obvious. Two, I don't even know if we said this is going to be a watch-along podcast.
We did not.
So we're going to do a watch-along of the episodes. We'll be here live today. Maybe in the future we'll do some live ones. Otherwise, we're going to Zoom and watch it together and go through it. But for me, it's going to be therapeutic because since Tim has passed, I have not been able to watch How I Met Your Mother in any full... Like I would. Like I can't just put it on and vibe to it.
Yeah.
Because it leaves me with a... kind of like an empty feeling. So I think if I watch it with you and I get to talk about it in this aspect, it'll be good for me.
I agree.
And, I can only fall asleep to Dr. House so many times. So I'd like to have How I Met Your Mother back.
I will say, kind of touching on, like, falling asleep to a show, How I Met Your Mother has always been, since I started the show, kind of like a security blanket for me, of sorts.
Man, I kind of want to ask Sam now. Because she has to remember how I started watching How I Met Your Mother, because that's who I was dating. I'll investigate.
Stay tuned on that.
Stay
we'll
tuned,
find
yeah.
out the
I
real
was just trying to think. I'm like, man, okay. So for me, my most relatable episode... Oh, wait, you got one more, don't you?
I don't remember the first
All right,
one.
cool, thank
We'll
God.
stick with 3.
Send it to me in an email. That's not funny. Yeah, it is. A little bit. We'll edit that out. Anyway, for me is when Ted and... Ted basically goes through his bender when him and Robin break up. He does the, Barney's like, the best way to get over a girl is to get under another girl and all that. And he goes out, he gets a tattoo, he has a night in the hot tub.
The infamous butterfly tattoo.
Yep, and I think that for me, I've gone through so many breakups, and you've watched me go through so many breakups, that my reaction is always the same. I need to, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter, but I need to let loose after the relationship.
Yeah.
And I don't always make the best decisions.
You've gotten better, though.
I have gotten better. I think that's with age. Which is funny to think Ted's, at that point, 28, maybe?
He was 27 in the
27,
pilot.
okay. So, yeah, I mean, he wasn't, he was immature, if you ask me, but whatever. Yeah, so I think that's how I handle things, and it's so relatable to me because the next day, they're trying to piece together his night before. And we've all sat there trying to piece together my night before.
Yes, we most definitely have.
And I think that, for me, is very relatable. And it almost is like, it was fun, but then, there's also the Lily aspect where you didn't need to do that to get to where you are now.
Yep.
So I think for me that was...
it was fun until you realized maybe I took the fun too
yeah,
far.
maybe I did this out of a place of not trying to get over something, but trying not to feel what I was trying to get over.
Yeah. Which I think Ted was very guilty of.
Very.
In the first, at least 3 seasons.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
Easily. My episode, so I jotted down here on my notes I didn't forget. What moment reminds us most of each other? And I'll go first.
I was going to say, please lead with that.
I have season 2, episode 11, and it's when Lily stole Christmas. And Ted had called Lily a Grinch on an answering machine. So Lily and Marshall had broken up, and I can relate. Ted and Linda and Tim would fight, and I would say to either of them, "Oh, forget that," or "Don't worry about that bullshit," or "She's overreacting," or and somehow it would always come back to bite me in the ass.
Yep.
And I was trying to say it at the time just to make the person feel better, mostly Tim. And then somehow, usually Tim would just tell you what I said, and it would come back, and it was from a place of love, and that's what happened with Ted. The main part where I could relate is Ted doubled down
Yes.
on Lily being mad about it.
Yep.
And I would double down. I'd be like, fine, yeah, I did call you a bitch.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I don't think there's a single instance in those moments between you, myself, and Tim where you did not double down.
Yeah, so I would double down much like Ted did. And, but at the end of the episode, they came together for Marshall, really, and the sake of Christmas.
That's true, yeah.
Obviously the sake of Christmas. But I think that is very relatable to me with us. And then I have dual citizenship, where Marshall and Ted go to their own pizza joint, or they're supposed to go to their own pizza joint. It's closing, right? That's why they're going.
Yes.
So they're going to visit their old restaurant they always went to together, and Lily tags along. And that's relatable to me because for the first, I don't even want to say a year. It didn't take all that long. But you were always tagging along.
Solid 6 months.
Yeah, you were always tagging along with Tim, and it was like, oh, when am I ever going to just get to hang out with you? Like, why is Linda always tagging? Actually, up until we sat down and watched wrestling together,
Yep.
is about when it all happened. And I just think I think any couple that's relatable, where there's a friendship involved, and then somebody becomes the quote unquote third wheel. It's hard to deal with. You're getting your best friend. You're sharing your best friend.
Oh, definitely.
And I think that in that episode they expressed that good. And although Ted's frustration seems immature and stupid, I don't think that you could see enough how it hurts him. He seems like he's being angry and selfish, but it's just coming from a place of hurt because he's losing his best friend.
Yeah.
My only other struggle there is Marshall and Lily were together a long time.
A long time.
This is not like this was new to Ted.
And it wasn't even, like, super close to them getting married either.
No.
It was at least a year, if not longer, after Marshall and Lily got married in the show that they went on this road trip.
Yeah, so I think that's my, and they all lived together.
Yeah, for years.
Yeah, so I think that's where I'm like,
I think it may have something to do with, like,
it being their pizza shop and their journey.
Thing. Yeah, it was their road trip. It was their pizza shop.
Okay, so Ted wanted to stroll down memory lane with Marshall.
Yeah, I think it was solely based on a nostalgic thing. He wanted to have that, like, college buddy road trip with.
Because we lose those things as we get older.
Yeah.
We those memories, we lose them and we don't get to experience them. So he was trying to take it, I think, by the balls.
Yeah.
Reins, whatever.
Almost quite literally, because he kidnaps Marshall and takes him to Chicago to get the pizza, and he didn't even allow Marshall enough time to put on underwear. So he very literally took it by the balls and that'll pizza.
That'll be a fun episode to dissect, I think.
Yeah.
That'll be fun to go through.
Agreed.
What you got anything for me?
I would say the mermaid theory.
The mermaid theory.
The mermaid
it's a good
versus
one.
manatee theory, because it was very apparent when Tim was alive and the three of us were a package deal of sorts.
Always, yeah.
That, like, we were the Marshall, Lily, and Ted.
Yep.
I think if people looked at our friendship now, after Tim has passed, people would probably question how close we are, maybe.
Oh, yeah, probably.
And say, like,
In fact, I have been questioned about it.
Is there something going on
Yeah.
there? And I think I've only gotten that question twice since Tim has passed and you and I have remained friends.
Yeah, it's usually by people that don't know us. It's never people that know us.
Exactly. And immediately the only thought that comes into my head is Robin sitting at the bar and she turns into a manatee.
Yep.
Right in front of Marshall. And for those of you who don't know the show and don't know the episode that I'm referencing, the mermaid versus manatee theory is based off of, like, platonic friends that you would never have a romantic relationship
Yeah,
with.
you would never think of them like that.
And Robin and Marshall were very much just strictly friends, nothing flirtatious.
It was also cool that in that episode, Marshall realized he's never hung out with Robin.
Yes.
One-on-one.
Yes.
Which, until they said that in the episode, I'm like, oh, they haven't.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap.
I think there was one instance, and I don't even know if I would call this a hangout, but the 3 Days of Snow episode where Robin and Marshall drive to the airport together.
And that was more of a force to hang out, not a, hey, let's hang out.
With a purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. That'll be fun to dissect, too. You got anything else?
No? I think just that one.
I think, what do you think about How I Met Your Mother gives you such a emotional connection to the show?
Alright, so this is going to sound really cheesy.
Okay.
How I Met Your Mother has always made me feel safe.
I could relate to that.
Especially when I was kind of rolling thoughts around in my head earlier this week, I kept coming back to the pandemic. Especially during for me it was like 3 weeks of lockdown because I was one of the people who had to go back to work pretty quickly. Everything in life and in the world really was very scary and uncertain and very anxiety-ridden. And I can recall several instances during lockdown where I would spend an entire day or, an entire night, because insomnia gets the best of people when there's a lot of anxiety-ridden things going on in the world, that I would just turn on How I Met Your Mother to feel some sort of normalcy. And in a way, it was, a half hour, 6 hours, to just kind of feel like everything outside of the four walls and outside of McLaren's was not going on. So I think it's a safety net for me, personally.
Okay, that makes sense to me. I think for me it was, it started as, when I was watching it, I had all these feelings that I didn't know if were real or not. And so to watch these other people go through them, and to watch Ted tell Robin he loved her on the first date, and for him to be pining for her even though they were friends, and it reminded me a lot of our group of friends and me. And then obviously Lily and Marshall, they would do things, and I could see it as, man, Tim and Linda would do that out of a place of love, not just being nosy, annoying, a couple teaming up on me. Yeah. It's coming from a place of love. So I guess it made me feel like we weren't so fucked up.
I would agree with that.
It gave me a, almost like, I don't want to say like a playbook, but almost like a playbook of this is how adulthood is.
Yeah. It definitely is one of those shows that kind of prepares you for a bunch of different things in adulthood that either you haven't experienced yet, or that you might just be on the cusp of experiencing and you don't know how to navigate it really well. And then you look at these characters that, if you watch the show long enough, the characters almost start to feel like your friends.
Yes.
And they're very relatable instances in life, but they're also very relatable people.
Agreed, and I think the things they did a real good job in that show of going through the stages of friendship.
Oh,
and that
definitely.
Not everybody will be friends forever, but you always have the memories of when you were friends.
The Gary Blauman episode.
Yep. So I think that's very important. And if I were to guess, there's probably more friends in that friend group that just weren't important enough for Ted to flash back on.
Oh, I'm sure.
But I think those were the key people. And I just think that's cool that, it wasn't necessarily always happy. It wasn't always the best half hour. There's some real shit that went on.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's where I was like, damn, we can go from Ted falling in love to Ted's whole relationship being ruined. And that could have been a week for me at any time.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Not to shit on Friends. Oh, sorry, am I allowed to swear on the podcast?
Yeah, we don't give a fuck here.
Not to shit on the show Friends, but How I Met Your Mother dealt with more real life stuff.
Yes. Yes.
Versus with Friends, they would deal with real life stuff, but they would sugarcoat it in a way that would just kind of give you that feel-good moment at the end of the episode.
Yeah, it was...
How I Met Your Mother was great at not doing that
Yeah.
for you so you could learn a lesson.
And they said that in the podcast we just listened to. He said we were not that happy ending show. That's why we didn't know if NBC was going to pick us up.
Yeah.
Because we had that, not everything ended in a hug and hunky-dory.
Exactly.
But that's life, and I think that's why I relate to it so much.
Yeah.
Not every day you're going to go to sleep and be like, wow, today was great. Shit happens. I think that's why it's so important to me. I think it's very apparent that How I Met Your Mother's brought us closer as friends.
No.
Obviously.
I don't think so at all.
Yeah, probably not. You're right. We're not going to talk about it no more. Yeah, I think it definitely has. And I think we've made other people see How I Met Your Mother in a different light by talking about it.
Oh, 100%.
I for sure think that. I also think it's funny that we have friends that thought they were somebody in the show.
But weren't.
Yep.
Yep.
And we're just like, no, you're not that person.
Yep.
We know you're not. You think you are, but that's not who you are in our group.
Yep.
Know your role and shut your mouth. Yeah, it's just, it's funny, and it's definitely relatable. When we could talk about it and say, oh, like we talked about, I was like, am I more Ted or Barney now? Like, I don't know. I've always struggled with that, but definitely more Barney, or more Ted now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think now in present day Grant era, you are much more Ted than Barney.
I do, however, I'm upset they canceled How I Met Your Father, because I would have liked to know more about how Barney, because seeing in that episode, he was such a different person.
Yeah, like how did Barney grow?
Yeah, and then of course I want to know how everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
But Hillary Duff, get on that if you're watching, listening. Thank you. Actually, if you're watching or listening, get on
Please.
me. But
yeah, that too.
All right, what do I got here? So this will be the first time in recent memory that we've watched How I Met Your Mother together.
Definitely all the way through.
Yeah, definitely all the way through. I'm super excited about your takes as we're watching it now to see how you relate to things and how I think how you relate to Lily more. Because the funny, quirky things Lily did, but I think now that you're older, you relate to her more on a deeper level. Lily was always trying to look out for at the end of the day, her and Marshall.
Yeah.
And no matter what she was choosing, was her and Marshall.
Yeah.
And I think now that you're older, and we were going to watch it and talk about it, I think now you got to worry about you more, as opposed to worrying about everyone.
And I think that's something that, for a lot of the seasons, Lily really struggles with.
I agree.
I mean, we can take it back to her leaving for San Francisco to go pursue her art passion, or the episode where she admits to Ted on the roof that, like, sometimes she just wants to leave in the middle of the night because being a mom is super challenging and overbearing at times. And I think you get a sense of Lily has spent so much time taking care of the boys and Robin to a certain extent, but Robin's a tough bitch. She could hold her own. But she spent so many years taking care of Marshall and Ted and Barney that she put a lot of taking care of Lily on hold, which is something I am tremendously guilty of.
Agreed.
As far as the early years of our friendship.
Yeah, you were always worried about everybody else, but now knowing you today, it's not that you don't worry about everybody else, but if it can directly change your happiness, you're less likely to involve yourself in it, probably is the right word.
100%.
As before, you always involved yourself because you wanted everybody happy.
Yes.
So, I definitely think that'll be cool to watch it. I'm interested in your moments where you're like, oh God, that's you, Grant. And I can't see it.
Yep.
So I'm excited for that.
I think it'll be cool for us to watch it together. And again, we've never watched it all the way through together. I think the only, like, very clear memories I have of us watching any episodes together were at the Stowaway House.
Yes,
and
for
we
sure.
were much, much younger.
Yeah.
God, I think I had just turned 21.
Yeah, because I was 25, 4?
Yeah.
4?
So fast forward.
Well, got 10 years ago. I'm 34 now. Yeah.
Fast forward 9-10 years.
Oh, God, I'm old.
How do those episodes differ for us?
And we were in much different places then. I mean, it's me and you now.
Yeah.
Nobody else is standing.
Nobody else.
So they're not all dead. Just so we're clear, they're around. They're just not with us
They're
here.
here, but
yeah,
they're just not here.
Yeah, we're not at McLaren's drinking at the pub. I think that I'm excited for that. I'm excited to watch it from beginning to end with you. I'm excited to see how like the production of it changes too. Because I turned on the first episode, I'm like, man, this was kind of low quality. Like,
yeah, right?
This was kind of low quality. Also, rest in peace, Bob Saget. Just thinking about that. Yeah. Without the voice of Ted Mosby, I mean, the whole show's kind of not as relevant, really. I mean, he made the show, narrating it.
It really, what you said the other day of How I Met Your Mother almost giving like a storybook feeling really resonated with me, and I don't think you get that feeling if you don't have Bob Saget as older Ted talking to his
You
kids.
feel like you're sitting with the kids.
Yes.
Hearing the story. And it's not, I like how older Ted, it's very clear from his perspective. If Marshall's older character were to tell a story, it would be totally different.
Oh, 100%.
This is from Ted's perspective, and he says, this is from my perspective.
Yeah.
So, I think that's cool, because even they flash back sometimes, and the kids are like, what do you mean that's how it happened, Dad? Like, you're like, oh, okay, Ted's, they're not really eating subs, okay? They're smoking a little marijuana.
I love that they referred to blunts as sandwiches.
Yes, everybody's having a sandwich. And they're the big, long subs. They're not
Although, in 2005, they probably weren't calling them blunts.
No. They were crack.
Although now...
They were all doing crack.
In 2025, I'm probably aging myself by calling them blunts.
That's true. You don't have to roll your weed anymore. It's just in a little pen for you.
Exactly.
Oh, God. We already hit the answering machine thing, though, so...
Times have changed.
Oh, man. What do you think will be the hard... I think we probably already established this, but what do you think will be the hardest episode to go through?
It's going to be Last Words, for sure.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I have only gotten through 12 minutes of that episode since Tim died. I have not been able to watch it all the way through. Every time it comes up in the season, I will very purposely just click next.
Does that mean his dad doesn't die then? If you skip it? Is he just still alive?
I mean, maybe. I like to think about it that way.
Yeah, I think that's how it works.
But then the rest of the episodes don't really make sense. Like, why is Marshall in Minnesota taking care of his mom?
His dad, they got separate. He moved to Italy to save people. He's building board games with Lily's dad. Yeah, that'll easily be the hardest episode. I also can relate to the episode where they're at the funeral.
Yes.
Because I feel like everybody at any funeral has a role, and everybody handles emotions differently. But it also depends on who passed. Everybody's role is different at said funeral.
That's a really great observation, honestly, because, like, thinking about it now, in terms of the most recent funeral that you and I had to be at together, unfortunately, everyone there did play a very vital role, but all of those roles were different.
Yep. And they did a good job of expressing that. Robin had anything. Ted and Barney were going to make Marshall laugh. And, when I think of Tim's funeral for me, I was there to just make sure you were okay. Yeah. That was my goal. And I'm sure somebody was there to just make sure I was okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's just funny how that works. And I think they did they do that a lot in this show, but that was a really good example. I'm excited to dive into that more.
I am a little upset, though, just from a real-life standpoint, that nobody at Tim's funeral had a bag full of vices like Robin.
Yeah, that is true.
That would have come in handy.
That's normally my play, but I was, I didn't want anybody to judge me.
Apples to apples.
Yeah, I didn't want an intervention. I really thought I was having one, so I didn't want to get too crazy. As we run through the characters, I don't remember this question, so I'm just going to read it. As we run through the characters, Robin, Ted, Lily, Marshall, and Barney, what are some moments that you think we'll be able to relate to? And who, maybe not names, who in our lives can we relate these to? Or who, well, I mean, this is pretty easy, I think. Oh, we've been in almost every situation now. I think that they've been in
Yeah,
nearly,
I would agree.
or somebody in our group of friends has. Um, I want to say, and for some reason this is sticking with me, so I'll get your opinion on it. I'm gonna say his name because he won't give a shit. I want to say Corey was kind of our blitz. Like, good things happened when Corey wasn't there, and we always got to brag about him missing it.
Corey was kind of our
yeah,
blitz,
and I
yeah.
really put a lot of thought into that, but it really was, and it was always a, damn it, I missed it.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
I've never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense.
Obviously, a number of people could be Carl the bartender.
Yeah.
From
At one point, Tim was Carl.
Yeah,
the
at one point,
bartender.
Tim was Carl. Everybody's got a Robin. I mean, Robin's pretty easy.
See, that's the one that I struggled with. Because I don't think there's somebody in our friend group that I could pinpoint as the Robin.
I could. How do I? That's the question.
Hmm.
I would say somebody that I pined over for a long time.
Okay.
That went camping with us. That would be a
Okay.
good way to say it.
Alright.
I could put her as a Robin.
Yeah. I can see that.
We definitely not who thinks they're the Robin. Is definitely not the Robin.
No.
I don't even know that they're involved in this show. They do love it though. They do love it though.
I mean, I guess that's what counts.
Yeah,
really.
that's the main goal.
We made somebody else a How I Met Your Mother fan.
Yeah, that's
That's
the goal here too.
Or as Barney Stinson would say, that's the dream.
That's the dream. That is the dream. I think. Yeah, I mean, I think Robin's probably I would have to imagine in most friend groups, Robin's the hardest. And I think Robin came into that group so late that it was hard.
Yeah, because they were already an established friend group when Robin came in.
Yes.
And then Robin kind of had to figure out what her place was in the group.
Yeah, and how to, sleep with everybody but Marshall. Because she was kind of a hoe.
Fair.
Robin doesn't get enough credit in the streets as a hoe. So I'm just
streets.
in the streets, so I'm throwing it out there. Also, I think I'm just running in my head. I think how Barney met Ted is very me-like, where he's like, "I'm going to change your life."
Yep.
And Ted's like, "What do you mean?" I could see me talking to Nick like that. Like, I'm going to change your life.
For sure. For sure.
And Nick being like, I don't really need my life changed.
I'm going to teach you how to live.
I'm going to teach you how to live, buddy. Very much old of me thinking I had it figured out.
Yeah. I mean, we all thought we had it figured out at 22 to 25.
Yeah, we didn't know shit. We knew how to blow our money at the bar.
Yeah, we sure did. Yeah, we sure did.
That's about it. So I think that me and you have talked about doing a podcast for a while. I just don't think... Well, I have presented the idea to you a couple times, and you weren't against it. I just don't think we came up with a good topic, maybe, is the best approach to it.
Yeah.
Then I started doing tip to tip. I lost my co-host. And I thought, it's hard to get somebody to interview every week, but we could definitely, in between all that, have some How I Met Your Mother stuff.
Oh, totally.
And I think also it could play into the tip to tip because I feel like each episode has a tip to live by.
I think so too.
And
I definitely agree with that.
think that if we each find a tip in the episode, then it would be tip to tip. Yeah.
That's cute.
So I think...
I mean, Josh Radnor even openly admits to, all of these episodes have a purpose.
Yes.
And we want you as the audience to figure out what that purpose is.
I agree. And I think from a standpoint of doing this podcast, obviously Josh Radnor just came out with a podcast, and that's what made me think about it. Like, let's do this.
Shout out Josh Radnor.
Josh Radnor, if you're listening. I also think that it's cool to hear from a normal person's perspective.
Yeah.
We got no skin in the game. No. We're just fans.
We're just fans.
Yeah, we're just fans.
We're diehard fans.
So, and like I said, for me it'll be therapeutic because I haven't watched it since Tim passed. We might be able to get you through one episode that you haven't been able to watch, and just talking about memories will be fun because it's easy to relate this to parts of our lives.
Yeah.
And there'll probably be some tears, there'll be some emotion, some laughs. I think.
There will be a lot of laughs.
I just think it's. I mean, even as far as the parents go, I think both our parents remind me of the parents on any side. You can pick anybody.
Definitely.
Definitely. So I think it'll be cool to go through that and dissect that. And I think the last thing I have... Ooh, this is going to be hard because I didn't write an answer down. What is your favorite quote, saying, catchphrase from the series?
That's a super easy one for me. So easy, in fact, that I put it in my vows. Ted Mosby...
Lame. little Barney for you.
Nobody asked. Ted Mosby is on a bridge in, I believe it was Central Park, with the psychotic girlfriend that he dated leading up to meeting the mother, Tracy. I want to say her name was Jeanette?
Jeanette, I think, yes. I think you're right.
And he meets up with Jeanette to get a locket back that was Robin's. Robin lost it. He wants to give to Robin as a wedding gift.
He wants to give it to Barney to give to Robin, correct?
That's true, yes. Yeah, he wanted to get it back so Barney could give it to Robin as a wedding gift.
Yes.
Give Barney that, like, be the hero kind of moment.
Yeah, because he wanted Robin to be happy.
Yes. But Jeanette pokes at Ted and, questions, why are you still doing all of this for Robin when she's marrying Barney? And in a very long-winded Ted Mosby fashioned spiel, he pronounces that he's still very much in love with Robin, but is okay with letting it go. And he finishes his speech with, because love is the best thing we do. And I have always...
gave me goosebumps.
I've always related to that line. I related to that line with Tim, because no matter what Tim and I did for each other or for the friend group, we did it with love intended and in mind. And even now, not having Tim and navigating, being 31 years old and widowed, which is super weird.
It was weird to hear out loud.
But you should do everything in life with love. And it doesn't have to be a romantic way. It can just be in a friend way. It can be in a... Essentially,
we became friends for love.
Yeah.
We became friends for Tim.
Yeah, we certainly did. So, yeah. Because love's the best thing we do. Remember that.
I like that. I think mine's pretty simple. Because it's going to be what this podcast is. Legend. Wait for it. Dairy. Legendary. That's what this podcast is going to be.
It. I really, truly did. I almost said it for you.
It's got to be that or challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted?
Yeah, because...
You accepted a lot of really piss poor challenges in the day, too.
Yes, and I think I was much like Barney. If you said I couldn't... Specifically, you said I couldn't do it. It was getting done.
Yep.
And I think that'll be fun to explore. But yeah, I think that's all we got. You got anything to add? That's it.
I'm excited to rewatch the show for the 40th time.
This week.
Yeah, this week.
This week? Yeah, I'm excited. Obviously, if you had to pick your favorite character that isn't Lily, who is it?
Ooh. That's just mean. Ted's hot sister, Heather.
Oh, good call. Ted's hot sister.
Because I also relate to Heather.
Okay.
We'll unpack that later as to why I relate to Heather.
Yeah, I think mine is probably, what is Ted's obnoxious friend's name?
Oh my god.
I can't think of it.
Punchy.
Punchy, yes. Punchy is probably my favorite character because nobody can stand Punchy, but somehow they all stand Punchy.
Yeah.
And that's almost like they do it for love, for Ted. And I think that's cool because there are plenty of people that tolerated me over the years.
In a way, I think Tim is very much equal parts Marshall and Punchy.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I doubt that too, I think. I'm very much could be a Punchy to people. Still, to this day.
You're equal parts Ted and Punchy.
Yeah, it's, you either like me or you don't. Yeah. There's not much in between for me.
Take it or leave it, folks.
Yeah. So, all right, cool. We will watch the first episode. We will have that up. This will go up probably tomorrow. Sunday's tomorrow, right? Yeah, that'll go up tomorrow. We'll try to do this maybe when is your free day? Every Wednesday? Wednesday's free for you?
Wednesdays are good. Usually.
All right, we'll do How I Met Your Mother Wednesdays. That's where you catch us.
I like that.
All right, that's what we'll do.
Should we end it with a self five?
Or a high five.
Or a high five? A high infinity?
Up top. Yeah!